begin. Good morning. We're learning Ma'aseh Mechochem V'Tam Chol HaMoed Pesach Tafshin Pei Beis. Wonderful. Baruch Hashem. I just put this in. So let's take a quick look at the text and see where it takes us. So we said that the wise, the clever son had a clever messenger. It came to him and gave a message from the king. So as a result, from that, first of all, the clever one said, let's wait until the morning. And because of that, in the morning he started thinking, who am I? What am I? That the king will send for me. I mean, he's the king, he's wise, and who am I? At the end, he came to a conclusion, there is no king. And then he starts coming up with all kinds of explanations. And we've been talking about this particular phenomena of people that have preconceived ideas and notions that are a result of false modesty. The whole thing starts, he gets astonished, the king's calling for me. Who am I to, such a big king will call for me? And he said he was greatly astonished, perplexed. Then he said, you know something? It's absolutely clear and understood there is no king at all. And then he starts degrading the whole world and is taking this foolishness, thinking that there's a king. Whole world mistaken. And then he starts giving him proof. How is he giving him proof? He goes to see a soldier. Say, who are you serving? The king. Have you ever seen the king? I've never seen the king. See, that's a proof that there's no king. Then he goes to a captain. And he says, have you seen the king? I mean, who are you serving? The king. Have you ever seen the king? No. And each one becomes a greater and greater foolishness, and for them it is a proof. And this is a very important nakuda that we need to understand, and this is the main reason why it is so important to be close to tzaddikim. And and totally annul your mind to the tzaddikim, the das of tzaddikim. Because when we all have preconceived notions of who we are and how we are. And what life is about, and what we're good for, what we're not good for, and so forth and so on. And this is such a powerful, we say that this is the union of pari. There's a slavery of pari. There's such a powerful union that any further data, knowledge that you get in your life, it automatically becomes converted and becomes a proof to your preconceived ideas. I saw on something there's some kind of a foolish, People that want to prove that some of the rabbis don't want you to see, and they say that according to their mind, that a shtus that tefillin is, it's not an original Hebrew thing, whatever it is, and they show all kinds of drawings and paintings that the Chinese used to wear something here, the emperors, whatever, and that the pharaohs had this thing on their heads, the snake on their forehead and stuff like that. And as far as they're concerned, that's a proof that the tefillin is not an original, Jewish thing, kiviyah. I was like, you fools. You're so stupid. Has it ever come to your mind that these ancient civilizations understood that you need a condenser of energy, of moichin, to be put on your forehead? So the Egyptians had the snake there. That's paroi. The Chinese had whatever they had. And Baruch Hashem, because the thing is that that's the way that the energy comes in. Finish the head. No, but everything is superficial for them. Being that they think that Judaism is some kind of shamirachim, some kind of a trick. The Drabboni know about it, but they're trying to hide from you. But because this is their preconceived ideas, so they look for proof anywhere they look, and that becomes a proof for their shtuyot. It doesn't matter what's good to do when you have a soldier and you ask him, who do you serve? He serves the king. The fact that he hasn't seen the king, is that a proof that there's no king? What has it got to do with anything? Captain is already a tzaddik, somebody has a hasaga, has a hergesh, he's a higher madrega. Have you ever seen him? No, he hasn't seen the king. What are you talking about? That's a proof that there's no king. But there's a deeper inyan in this as to why it has to be dafka that way. And that is that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu first created the world, before the world, the vacant space, the Chalapona, was created. In order to create that vacant space, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has sent a light and took it back, and sent the light and took it back, and sent the light and took it back, and that created the vacant space in which all the worlds were created. This is called Olam HaMalbush, the world of the garment. And every time that the light came in and it came out, it left behind an imprint. Then imprint became the keli, became the vessel for the light to come in. Then he came back in again and out again and left another imprint. And each time the light was constricted in a special way until this vacant space, like this bubble of void, was created in HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kaviyachol. It's obviously only for our side, and from HaKadosh Baruch Hu side. HaKadosh Baruch Hu side is everything is exactly the way it was before. And then the HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the first primordial and as you said, primitive Sefirot. That Sefirot, you say, the Arizal explains that there was no balance. The Sefirot were just one on top of the other. The Chochmah, the Bina, and the Das, and the Chesed, and the Gvura, the Tiferes, they're all one on top of the other. In other words, each one was an existence for itself. Chochma was on Chochma, the only thing that exists is only me. Bina is only Bina, there's nothing exists except me, and so forth and so on. And they shattered. They shattered because the light of Kadosh Baruch Hu was so great that such constricted consciousness cannot contain opposites. It's like a child that can only, as child is has a constricted consciousness. The child can only perceive that either it's good or it's bad, or is it sweet or it's painful. That's the only thing that children can understand. Something can be sweet and bad for you, and painful and good for you. This is something that a child cannot comprehend, because his mind cannot contain two opposites. That created what they call shviras hakelim, the shattering of the vessels, and from that that created the Yetzer Hara. Later on, it is explained that the reason why it had to be that way is because the entire world was created on what they call the supernal volition. Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted to create the world. There was no an under craving from below. It's called Isaruta del Tata, an awakening from below to receive the light of Kodesh Baruch Hu. Without that awakening from below, the world cannot exist. Because everything will be shattered, everything will fall into the way it was before. The shattering of the vessels that create the Yetzer Hara is bad thoughts. Now, bad thoughts are something that you would call a self-fulfilling prophecy. Bad thoughts create bad kalim. Bad kalim create bad opinions. Bad opinions become self-perpetuating. So it starts with a thought. It comes from a false level of modesty. Who am I, the king would want me? What do you mean, who are you that the king will want you? What kind of a statement is this? Who is the greatest archangel of all time that the king will want him, that the Kodesh Baruch Hu will want him? Vis-a-vis the Kodesh Baruch Hu, you and the biggest angel that there is are one and the same. It's the same thing. You're both nothing. Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted Dafka that the world was created from us. Aviso Tehilo, you desired fame, mi gushe ofar, from lumps of earth. Krutei choma, those made of matter. Because what happens is that we build the world from below, and this is how we make Kadosh Baruch Hu king here in this world. But the thing is that we all come with our prepackaged baggage already. Because most people, practically all people, not all people, but practically all people, they all have ulterior motives. They all have a certain kind of moichen de katnos, constricted consciousness that they want to keep in case of emergency. What does it mean in case of emergency? You see, we fall in our own minds. We become discouraged. We become dispirited. We feel sorry for ourselves. And we're looking for something to bring us up. not so much to ring us up, but so much as much as make us feel good. Forget for a while. Even though we know there's Olam Hazeh, we know that there's Olam Haba, we know that every single day that passes is another day in which we die. Every day we have died one day. And getting closer. Yeah, but you know something, I want to do what's called let's say that I have an option. Okay? And within that option I want to have this little vacuum. It's like a timeout, in a basketball game, I want to call timeout now. I want to discuss things that this is not calculated as part of the game. We all want to be able, we all, not only want to be able, this is what we do, but we don't realize that the clock keeps on ticking. We want to call a timeout. During that timeout, we want to reserve, just like a person who's in a diet, just like hides a piece of chocolate somewhere. In case I get discouraged and I fail on my diet, so I have a little piece of chocolate over there. And in this particular thing, I want to, while away my time and my misery and my woe is me in some kind of a vice. So the thing is, what we don't realize is that we want to perceive the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is absolute. It's completely clean. It's oreganos. The minute that we come towards it with a tainted perception, everything that we will ever perceive fits into our preconceived perception. The only way that we can actually keep on keeping on the right direction, we come close to tzaddikim, and let the tzaddik tell us what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing. I think that it's the opposite, so I think it's the opposite. But I know who I am. I know who's a tzaddik and I'm not, and I know my malasot. So I'm mistaken, but he's a tzaddik. I know that he is right. It is not possible to get close to Kodesh Baruch Hu without the tzaddik. There's no way. Because I don't even know when I'm off the track. Because I know that I just look. It was in front of me, and it looks 100%. Okay. What do you want? I can show you proof. I go to a soldier, I ask him, it's proof. This, that's proof. And when somebody is like this, I look at him and scans, and this one is like this, I look at him like that. I look at everything from my preconceived notion. The only way to overcome it is to become close to tzaddikim. Just do whatever they tell you. Left is left, right is right. At kedei kach, the Torah says, and you should do whatever they tell you, and don't vary, don't go away from or don't sway from whatever they tell you, left or right. Rashi says, even if they tell you that left is right and right is left. It's like you're flying on instruments. Because we are all in a vertigo. A pilot, the greatest danger in a cockpit is called vertigo. You think that up is down and down is up. And at that particular point in time, if you go with your notion of what is up and down, chas v'chalila, the plane is going to crash into the land. The only thing that you can do is believe the instruments. That's it. Be mevatel your mind. No matter what your mind tells you, you believe the instruments, and that's it. The ability to fly blind, to fly the instruments, is karvas to tzaddikim. The the clever son, this is exactly his downfall. He is smart, but he's smart. He's enchanting himself. He's spellbinding himself. And what does it come from? It comes from his own false modesty. Who am I that the king should want me? Doesn't make any sense to me. So, Chas v'chalil is no king. The trip of the Chacham and the Tam, is congruous with our journey from Pesach to Shavuos. The entire Torah says, "L'man tiskot seis chomet Mitzrayim kol yemei chayecha." Remember the day you came out of Mitzrayim, all the days of your life. Why doesn't it say you should remember all the day of your life, the way you stood on Mount Sinai and you got the Torah? Supposedly it's a greater moment, no? And because that's when when Hashem gave us the Torah, and supposedly that's the whole point of Yetzias Mitzrayim. So we get because Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, how do you know I'm getting you out of Mitzrayim? Because when you get out of Mitzrayim, you will serve Hashem on this mountain. So that is the pinnacle. From there, you go to Beis Hamikdash. It's the Mishkan is a kiviyachol a portable Matan Torah, and there's a whole question of what happens on Yetzias Mitzrayim and what happens on Matan Torah. What's the difference between the two? In Mitzrayim, what we're doing during the Seder is we tell our children about the miracles. That's the main thing that we need to do. Just telling Kodesh Baruch Hu did this and this makas and that makas. And supposedly, when you take a look at it, the Rambam speaks about it. Now the Gedolim speak about it. The miracles are a very strong indication, of who controls the land, who controls the reality. The Mitzrayim could also understand that. But they said that the Moifsim, the miracles are not the proof of the veracity of the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu. I mean, it's convincing enough. It's convincing enough for the Mitzrayim, but miracles could be through sorcery, with some kind of way of influencing, the conduct of nature that is unknown to us, and something can happen. In later generations, a Novi will come, will do miracles, and does the Torah is not true. Miracles by themselves are not proof positive. Very close to. It's good enough for the Egyptians. The Egyptians were master in kishuf, in sorcery. But that's not enough of convincing reason. Nevertheless, this is what we say on Seder night. Now we're in Sphira. Tonight we counted 3 days to the Eira. In Har Sinai, we stood and we got the Torah in Har Sinai. And we said, the Ramban says, that the proof of Har Sinai is irrefutable, and we can tell our children, and nobody can refute that. So again, with Chochmas, you can come and say, how do you know? How do you know 100%? You can't know anything in this world 100%. How do you know that you're here now? Maybe you're dreaming. Maybe you're sleeping. It's not very likely, but it's possible. Ostensibly, it's possible. Same thing is possible with Olam Ma'asim. Same thing is possible Kaviyachol Matan Torah. But the explanation for this is that there's nothing you can ever know 100%. But we don't need to. We just need to be convinced well enough, and that's fine. For the Egyptians, it was okay. They saw 10 makas, and the makas weren't just kishuf, that something turned into something, but there were miracles within miracles. In other words, when the water became blood, an Egyptian drank from one side of the cup, the Jew drank from another side of the cup, the Jew drank water, and the Egyptian drank blood. It's not that, quickly it became blood in his mouth and quickly it remained water in his mouth. No, 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 no. The two opposites happened at the same time. It was a miracle within a miracle. Every makkah was like that. When the Kodesh Baruch Hu beat the Egyptians and spared Am Yisrael, it's just that it was suspended. Am Yisrael. No, no, no. That was reality at the same time for the Hebrews and for the Egyptians. This is it. Yam Suf. And the people go in the Yam on dry land. It wasn't that the dry land, the ocean didn't reach here and didn't reach here and this remained dry. No, no. It was the middle of the ocean. In other words, the Yam kept on going on and they walked on dry land. The Egyptians stepped into it and drowned. So the Gemara explains that what happens is that Yetzias Mitzrayim, what we're telling our children, we're telling ourselves, is that what we think is nature is also a miracle. In Mitzrayim, Kodesh Baruch Hu has taught us and the entire world that there is a master. There's a master that controls reality, that controls us and everything that we do, and controls everything that happens to us. It was convincing enough for the Mitzrayim, convincing enough for the entire world. But that's an inference. You see something happens, you realize it can't happen by itself. Somebody's making it happen. But this is impersonal. This is something that the Mitzrayim can experience as well as the Jews. The first lesson of Pesach Mitzrayim is that you should announce to Paro, to the Mitzrayim, to the entire world, Kodesh Baruch Hu is the Melech, Kodesh Baruch Hu is the one who runs the world. Matan Torah is a totally different union. Matan Torah is a wedding. That which we are counting now, the Sheva Shavuot, 7 weeks, we are counting towards a wedding. What are we trying? What is it counting in the wedding? This is a Tahara. We're counting the 7 days. We're going to get married to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In Mitzrayim, we found out who the master is. That is somebody is controlling nature, and it's not nature that is controlling nature. Somebody else is controlling. Nature itself is a miracle. But we don't know who that is. In Har Sinai, when we got the Torah, we got to meet Hashem Yisbarach. That one that controls it. That's in Mitzrayim. They just know that somebody great, all-powerful, beseder, they know. But there's no personal knowledge. In Mitzrayim, in Har Sinai, God was revealed to us. We met HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the only mass revelation in history ever. Nobody ever claims there was such a revelation to them. all the religions in the entire world, no one has ever experienced a mass revelation, got married with a Kodesh Baruch Hu. And during these 7 days, each one of those days is a special tzimtzum. It's a special kind of impetus to think bad things, to have bad ideas, to allow myself a little bit of slippage. Nothing's going to happen. What's the big deal? And we have to, from there, come to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Today is a Tiferes the Chesed. It's from when there's a Chesed, there's a revelation of the Chesed that happens to us. From there, we should remember Kodesh Baruch Hu. Yesterday was Gvura the Chesed. When Chesed happened to us, but there's something, not as, a little bit more difficult hidden within it, and so forth and so on. Every single day from the 49 days. Reach a Kodesh Baruch Hu from there. From this tzimtzum, you come to Hashem. This, it means getting us off the mindset of the clever son. I know. You ask, I'll tell you, where this comes from, where this leads to. Stay with me and I'll get you places. Just trust me on this. I know. This is what we're getting rid of for 49 days. And the way we can get there is by following Moshe Rabbeinu. By following the tzaddikim. And don't deviate from the words they tell you left to right. Keep on keeping on. Because if I keep on following my own opinions, any proof that anybody will give me that I'm wrong will become, for me, a proof that I'm right. My own preconceived notions already turn it into a proof that, I told you so. There was I think, Rabbi Akiva Tatz from South Africa. He said there was he had a patient who I think believed in one of those, I don't know, some kind of a supplements will do whatever it is, vitamin C, I'm not sure, whatever it was. And he treated his wife that way, and he was very action, with this. And he said he told him, this would lead to very grave consequences. And in a while, it did. So he told him, I told you not to do this. So the person said, if I wouldn't have done that, it would have happened. What would have happened to her a lot earlier. How much worse would it have been if I had not done that? A person convinces himself, and then everything that comes his way is a proof that cements our mistakes even firmer. In Seder, during the Seder, we don't mention Moshe Rabbeinu even once, because Seder Pesach is all about Kodesh Baruch Hu revealing himself as that there is no such thing as nature. Ramban says anybody that believes that there's nature beside Kodesh Baruch Hu, ein lo chelek b'elokei Yisrael, doesn't have a part in the God of Israel. If you believe there's nature outside of Kodesh Baruch Hu, you don't have a part in Kodesh Baruch Hu. So the Seder is a relation of Kodesh Baruch Hu, ani v'lo malach, ani v'lo saraf, ani v'lo acher. Me and not an angel, me and not a seraph, Me and nobody else but me. I am the one. There's no such thing as nature. Everything is me. To get to the chasana, to get to the wedding, to get to Matan Torah, you have to follow Moshe. You have to follow the tzaddik. The Muna in the tzaddik is not negeah to mefsim, it's not negeah to miracles, because there will be other neviim, there will be other miracles, or other, some kind of magicians, whatever it is. That's not a proof. A proof, when you follow the tzaddik, is that tavdu es elokim al har hazeh. When we follow Moshe, when we follow the tzaddik, we follow the tzaddikim, we end up serving Kodesh Baruch Hu on Har Sinai. We're getting married to Kodesh Baruch Hu. This is not possible without the tzaddik, without Moshe. Now, Sfiras Omer is a time where it's very important to do tshuva. Kodesh Baruch Hu wants us. Kodesh Baruch Hu wants us. And the way that we come to Kodesh Baruch Hu is through tshuva. And during Sfiras Omer, which is the time of tshuva, a person should say Tehillim as much as he can. It's better less b'kavana than a lot with no kavana. But the Indian is to say Tehillim during the Sfira specifically. Because it is, David HaMelech is the one that taught tshuva to Yochid, to a single person. Till then, we know that Klal Yisrael everybody can do the call, can do tshuva together. Everybody's fasting, taking their own Kodesh, taking it to the street and putting ashes on ourselves. Okay, the tshuva, kel kabir loimas, what is it? Tefillah of a lot of people. Okay, but that a single person could do tshuva, David HaMelech is the one that showed us. The Gemara says, Loya David Roy Kedai Lotor Ma'aseh. David HaMelech was totally, this whole union of Bathsheba was foreign to him. But the only reason why Kadosh Baruch Hu, drove him backed into that corner, was to show that a single person could do tshuva. That's what we need to do. We need to purify ourselves during the 40 days of Sfiras Omer, using one of the important tools that we're using is Tehillim, and to do tshuva from that. Come to Kodesh Baruch Hu for whatever it is. That is the thing that B'ezrat Hashem will get us to our wedding night, clean and pure and ready to receive the Torah. So B'ezrat Hashem, obviously, Wednesday night is Wednesday night. Thursday night is Yom Tov. So Wednesday night, Mr. Hashem, is a Likutei Moharan Shir. And B'ezrat Hashem, hope to see you there.